Welcome to Dark Facade, a channel dedicated to looking past the veneer of humanity and finding its true face. I will be your tour guide down this winding path of tales, ranging from the supernatural, science fiction, and twisted love. All the stories you're about to hear are assorted bits of literature that will range from the bizarre to the unexpected. So sit back, lower the lights, and allow yourself to be taken away from everyday reality to its shadowy reflection. If you enjoy our unusual content, please be sure to hit the like and subscribe button to receive more. Thank you. The Book of Dark Names by Katie Rogers, read by Katie Rogers, Chapter 18. By the time they reached the door that would take them back to Daniel, Sean had made a full recovery. Though they had a limited understanding of this world around them, they were starting to catch on quick. Laura took hold of the door handle, but paused before opening it. She gazed back at her colleagues as one might do before submerging into water. This would be their deep breath before the plunge. Whatever fate lurked behind this door with Daniel, they would all face together. So far, they had been pretty fortunate considering all they'd been through, but like the wind, fortune can change. They had learned in a very short while to take nothing for granted. She could feel the powerful presence along with Daniel's on the other side of the door. Most likely, it belonged to Hectonus, but she wanted to warn them just in case it wasn't. I'm picking up on some very big vibrations that could just belong to Hectonus, but I'm not certain. There is a possibility we could be facing another being in this pantheon, she cautioned. Her grave warning was acknowledged by everyone present with a simple nod. With nothing else left to say, Laura opened the door. They found themselves standing back on the threshold of Hectonus's lair. As before, the omniscient one paid them no mind. The consciousness continued to swirl in its light and dark mixture against the backdrop of eternity. Laura was the first to enter and felt herself being drawn to something directly behind the creature. The closer she got, the more vibrations she felt until at last she was overwhelmed. She fell backwards on the ground as if pushed. Her companions rushed to her side, unwilling to lose yet another member of their crew. "What is it, Laura? What happened?" Sean asked as he pulled her to her feet. "I'm not sure, but I feel something or someone big just beyond there," she said, pointing to a cluster of stars. Richard's eyes widened when he realized what it was that had assaulted her. The gate. That is the gate that is keeping the others in the pantheon at bay. Hectonus is the gatekeeper. What you were feeling is the other being's presence. They're waiting just behind it for release, he said. "I didn't feel them the first time," she said with an edge of concern in her voice. "They sense a shift in the wind," Sean observed. "Then we better get busy," Christopher declared. Laura went directly over to Daniel and turned him over. "He's still alive," she sighed in relief after feeling for his pulse. Richard and Christopher stood under Hectonus, silently contemplating as men of science do when faced with a conundrum. The being did not seem to acknowledge anyone or anything outside of itself unless provoked in some way, which did not work out so well for Daniel. The catch was how to gain access to its extensive knowledge if you couldn't even get its attention. Daniel had tried, and though he technically succeeded, it was a miserable failure. Nonetheless, they had no choice. They had to figure out a way to restore Daniel and get the answers they were seeking. Sean paced silently as he ran back through the passages from the Book of Dark Names that he had read pertaining to Hectonus. He turned them over and over again in his mind until an idea struck him. Every bit of the all-knowing creature's power was based on one concept: time. Perhaps they'd been going about this all wrong. Hectonus was ultimately a creature of time, and on some level, so was Sean. He thought it through a little longer, and when he was certain the idea would work, he laid it all out for the others. "I think I know what we can do," he announced. "All right, let's hear it," Christopher said. "Hectonus's knowledge is all time-based, right? Past, present, future, all are his to control," he quoted. "Surely you're not suggesting what I think you are?" Christopher asked with an arched brow. "I think it will work," Sean declared. "How can you say that? Look at Daniel," Laura argued. "Daniel tried tapping into its consciousness. I won't be doing that," Sean replied calmly. "You think you might be able to talk to it?" Richard asked. "On some level, yes," Sean nodded. "What do you mean on some level?" Christopher asked, confused. Hectonus is composed of 3 different composites of time, all of which is where his knowledge comes from. I can see the past, and that is where most of our answers are. I might be able to latch onto that part of him and get the answers we need, Sean explained. "How are you going to do that without some sort of mind-melding connection?" Christopher argued. "By only concentrating on what I need to pull from Hectonus's memory. I won't be focusing on all of it, just the parts that pertain to us." As Chris and Sean continued to argue over the validity of what the outcome might be, Richard stepped closer to study the swirling vortex above them. When he looked directly beneath it, he noticed that there were perfectly rounded off sections of ground that were elevated to different levels. They formed a kind of circle. When he looked up, he also noticed that certain parts of the swirling creature changed colors as it hovered over them. The lowest of the pedestals drained it to white. The second brought out the pinks and reds. The highest one provoked the darkness. It suddenly hit him on what all this meant. "Sean is right. Time is the key," Richard declared. Everyone stared at him in stunned silence. "Just hear me out," he reasoned. "There is a way to get Hectonus's attention, but it will require more than one person. We'll need 3. Past, present, future," Sean muttered. "Exactly," Richard nodded. "So 3 of us have to approach this thing together?" Christopher surmised. "No, not just any 3 of us. You and I are out. It's going to require abilities we don't have," Richard revealed, before averting his eyes to Sean, Laura, and Daniel. "I'm not trying to appear insensitive, but Daniel is not in any shape to help right now," Christopher pointed out. "Yes, it would appear that way, but if I'm right, it won't matter," Richard said. "How could it not matter?" Laura asked, puzzled. "Okay, think of it like this. Hectonus is like a radio tower that picks up on certain frequencies. Typical people, like Chris and I, don't operate on said frequency, but you all do. Even in Daniel's current state, Hectonus could not only hear him, but communicate as well," Richard explained. "Yes, but Daniel did try to communicate, and look what happened," Christopher reminded him. "Danny did not try to communicate. He went in looking for answers. He also tried to do this alone. Getting Hectonus's attention requires 3, Sean pointed out. "So how do we do this?" Laura asked, resigning herself to the idea. "I think each of these pedestals represents an aspect of time, the lowest being the past, the highest the future. Sean will be the past, Laura the future, Daniel the present," Richard said. "And just what are you basing this on?" Christopher asked as Sean and his fellow scientists moved Daniel's body into position. "What you and I would call hypothesis, what Sean would call gut instinct, or perhaps I'm taking a page from Evelyn's book and trying a little faith." Richard smiled as he watched all the apprehension drain from his fellow skeptic's eyes at the mention of his lost love's name. "Is there anything I can do to help?" Christopher sighed. "For once, you and I are going to have to sit this one out. It's all on them now," Richard replied. Sean and Laura exchanged nervous glances before climbing on to their prospective platforms. Their gazes became fixed on the swirling mass above them. At first, Hectonus seemed as oblivious as before. Nothing happened until Laura and Sean started reaching out with their abilities. The two psychics concentrated on the mass above them. Sean tugged at the vibrations of time, while Laura searched the darkness. Strangely enough, the effects of their combined abilities reverberated across Hectonus's underbelly like that of an insect in a spider's web. Their combined efforts provoked the being just enough that it gave them an answer to one of their questions. Together, they could restore Daniel by coaxing the being down enough to withdraw most of its knowledge from him. His mind had not been destroyed, it was a mere prisoner. What was even more astounding was Sean and Laura did not need to convey this idea to one another. The information flowed back and forth between them through Hectonus. The form of communication was so advanced that minds as brilliant as Christopher and Richard's would have trouble comprehending it. The two of them agreed to proceed with extreme caution when coaxing Hectonus closer. They also agreed that Laura should resist seeing any part of the future that might come into view. She squeezed her blue eyes shut as all around her became a haze of darkness. Her ears clued her in on what her eyes could not see. She heard bits and pieces of discussion that had not taken place yet. Sean saw a tapestry of events long gone by unfold before his eyes. Unlike the cyclone, his experience with the past this time was more familiar and less painful. Although the scenes that flashed by were peppered with negativity, he was able to witness many great things. When the white light of the past covered him fully, he, along with Laura, reached out to the small part of Daniel that still remained. "Danny, can you hear us?" Sean asked. "Let us in, Danny. We're here to help," Laura said. There was only silence. "Danny, I know you're afraid that this is a trick, but it's not. We're here with you. We need you to trust us. This is not the madness that is trying to set in to the rest of your mind. It's your friends. Let us help you," Laura begged. "Daniel, Hectonus is here. The way to get your mind back is to return the knowledge you took to him. Keep only the information we need. Hectonus is waiting for you to do so. I know you can hear me, Dan. Please, you have to try," Sean told him. Suddenly, the pink nebulous light of the present began to spin. Daniel's voice came through as a whisper at first, but with each twist of the colorful brightness, he became louder. "Hey guys, what took you so long?" he joked. "We'll tell you all about it later," Sean promised. "Yes, but for now, let's get out of here," Laura added. "I've managed to keep the info we'll need. However, the three of us are going to have to break with Hectonus at the same time, okay?" Daniel told them. "Right. On the count of 3, Laura said. Collectively, they counted. 1, 2, 3. All at once, they shut down communication with the all-knowing being, causing it to let go of them. The swirling consciousness returned to its former state in a flash of bright light, leaving the 3 psychics right where they stood. The 2 scientists breathed a heavy sigh of relief when they saw everyone standing in front of them unharmed. Laura ran over and hugged Daniel while the rest of the group gathered round. "Welcome back," Christopher greeted. "It's good to be back, but in all honesty, we don't have a lot of time left. We have to get a move on," Daniel told them. "Why? What did you see?" Laura asked. "Everything we need to know to put that bastard back where he belongs, but we're going to have to hurry." "I'm assuming you know how to get us out of here and where we need to go," Christopher said. "Yes, I do. The rest I will explain when we get there," Daniel replied.